Thanks for joining us for the COTA New South Wales seminar. We'll be starting very shortly. We're just waiting for a few more of our participants to jump online. Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the next COTA Conversations. And there we are. Hello, welcome to the next in our COTA Conversations series of webinars. Thank you so much for joining us. My name's Jackie May. I'm from the COTA Communications team. Today I'm on the lands of the Wongal people of the Eora Nation. I pay my respects to their elders past and present and to First Nations people who are joining us today. Thank you very much for your expertise and for being with us to share your thoughts and I think stories about volunteering and how volunteering plays a part in your life. So very keen to hear from you. If you're new to COTA New South Wales, a reminder that the Council on the Ageing for New South Wales is an independent not-for-profit organisation. We represent the interests of people aged 50 years and older in New South Wales. We're the recognised peak agency for older people, and we work with our members, governments, politicians, policymakers, service providers, and the media to ensure the views of older people are heard and acted on. So if you're new to these webinars, we'll take some time to introduce the topic, and we'll also be introducing our invited speakers before we talk to them in more detail. I'd like to let you know that our webinar is being recorded and will be available to view on our website. It'll be up there by next week. You are free to make your comments or questions using the chat function. And I've just had a query. No, we won't be able to hear you if you're joining us on the webinar. You can hear us. You can feel free to add in your comments or questions by using the Ask Question function at the bottom of the screen. So don't be shy if you've got something that you'd like to know a little bit more about or raise, or you've missed something. You can always pop it in as a question or a comment. And if we aren't able to get to you today, I would encourage you to email us at info@cotanewsouthwales.com.au. So that's our setup for today. Someone's got their 4-year-old grandchild with them because they're volunteering as a carer, it would seem today. That's fine. Thank you. Welcome. And I hope the 4-year-old can listen along and maybe be a little bit engaged by what we're talking about. But I'd say that grandma or grandpa's got some colouring or something to keep them busy as well. But welcome and thanks for joining us. So our topic today is reimagining volunteering. We're celebrating National Volunteer Week, and the theme of this week in 2024 is something for everyone. So volunteers are crucial to our work, but they're also really crucial to our state. Volunteering provides a lot of social and economic benefit in New South Wales. I think last year, 4.3 million people contributed an estimated $178 billion worth of value. So that is an amazing effort on behalf of volunteers and what they bring to our community and our economy. So volunteering changed a lot though in the COVID pandemic, as we know, and it's been a good point for the sector itself and for all of us that work with and rely on volunteers to have a think about how we're going to evolve into the future. So it's a challenging and it's an exciting time for the sector. So we're going to be talking about what volunteering looks like in 2024 and beyond as well. So hopefully you'll get some insights into how you might perhaps change the way you volunteer, or what might be some new avenues for you to go into. So we've got some experts with us with the latest research and also their lived experience. So firstly, I'd like to welcome Clint Burtonshaw. Clint is the Director of Sector Development and Engagement at the Centre for Volunteering in New South Wales. Thanks for joining us, Clint. We've got Anup Sood with us. Anup is a valued COTA New South Wales and a community volunteer across Western Sydney, where he's in very high demand. He's a very busy volunteer across a range of organisations who welcome his professional advice and input after retiring from his very successful career in information technology, building software and creating technological systems. Thanks again for joining us today, Anup. And a bit later, we're also going to hear from our new COTA CEO, Goha Yazdabadi. Hi, Goha, and you'll be filling us in on how volunteers help us in our work at COTA New South Wales. She's going to let us know about our thoughts on volunteering into the future. So, Clint, I'd like to come to you first, if that's okay today. And thank you for joining us. You might let us know what lands you're on if you have it handy, and tell us a bit about your role with the Centre for Volunteering.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jackie, and thank you all for having me today. I'd like to pay my respects to the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia. I'm actually coming to you from Nipaluna Litrawida, which is Hobart, Tasmania, which just demonstrates how post-COVID, the world is so much more connected than it ever has been, and that is certainly becoming more and more prevalent in volunteering, and I'll talk more to that in a moment. I am the Director of Sector Development and Engagement at the Centre for Volunteering, and in short, that's a very fancy way of saying that I've got the absolute privilege of working on the tools, resources, and trainings that the Centre for Volunteering offers as the peak body for volunteering in New South Wales to all the volunteering involving organisations around New South Wales to help those organisations provide the best experience in volunteering. I often say that I help them excite and delight volunteers. So I'm really lucky to have that fortunate role. I've been with the centre now for approximately 4 years, and in that time worked on a number of different projects in the lead up to becoming the Director of Sector Development, all the while continually building on the tools and resources and working with my team to get out into community and actually talk to the volunteers, to the volunteer leaders, and to the organisations that do just such fantastic work. And I've got a couple of slides I'll go through in a moment's time. The value of volunteering is absolutely huge. I'm not going to bore you by going through those slides in depth. At the end of the day, it leads into the State of Volunteering report, which we recently released. And by all means, there's a QR code at the end. Otherwise, head over to our website, download the report and have a read for yourself. Or more importantly, if you just want the quick version, read the key findings guide. It's amazing. At the end of the day, it is amazing. And it's amazing to think where volunteering is post-COVID. For myself, I've been volunteering for quite some time now. I've actually lost track of the number of years. I'm an ex-Sydney-sider who moved down to Tasmania approximately, I'm going to say 6 years ago, and tied up with the local community radio station down here. Bit of a weird story. I'm a heavy metal fan at heart and had a podcast that they were looking for someone to do a heavy metal show, and one thing led to another, and I'm now one of their on-air hosts and have been doing that for the last 5 years. In doing that, I got to see how community radio actually ran, and they're mini businesses at the end of the day. It's fantastic. It's not just about the DJs on air. They really have to run like a mini business. And so I got involved as their training manager for quite some time, and also became a secretary on their board, which was more of a case of being voluntold than volunteering, but that's another story. I have since stepped down as a secretary and have stepped away from the training commitments, purely because my role as Director of Sector Development has me on the road quite a bit. They know that I'm only a phone call, an email, or a carrier pigeon away. So it's, I treat it like Hotel California. You can check out, but you can never leave. They'll never get rid of me as far as being an on-air host, because there's few radio stations that allow me to play my style of music like I do. But that was just one of my first real entrances into volunteering. Since then, I've also volunteered for one of the basketball teams down here in Tasmania. No, if anyone follows the basketball, it wasn't the Jack Jumpers. Yay, they won the championship this year, and I'm a huge Jackies fan. But the reason why I didn't volunteer for them is their program really required volunteers to be on the ground. be there for game days. And I knew that I'd be one of those volunteers that'd be constantly putting in leave forms or say I can't show up because I'm on the road or traveling. Instead, just below that, they have the next level, the MBL1, they call it, and we have the Hobart Chargers down here. I got talking to the guys who do their game day commentating. And I said to him, I'd love to volunteer for you guys, but here's the problem. I'm always traveling for work. They said, well, there might be other ways you might be able to help. And I said, well, what about social media? You've seen the social media posts I share and do. And they're like, well, how would that look? And we sort of talked it out. And it'd be a case of I would be where, regardless of where I am, as long as I have access to the social media accounts, I could post the social media on game days, which more importantly meant posting the scores at the end of each quarter. So they liked the idea, they thought it could work, and they took it to their president. He took a chance, gave us the keys to the kingdom, and for the whole of last season, I was able to do the game day social media posts, which was fantastic. They have a live stream of the game, but where I couldn't get the live stream, the boys would just quickly text me the scores, and then I could make it look nice into a social media post. They were able to focus on their game day commentating, which being live on the mic is always a scary prospect, never mind having to stop to do an Instagram post. And for most of that season, well, in fact, minus 2 games where I was able to actually be there live, I did the social media for them, and I was in Sydney at the time.
Wow.
So the reason why I lead into all this is very soon I'll be talking to you about the value of volunteering, but more importantly, taking the data that's come out of the State of Volunteering report and thinking differently about your volunteering. We all know we want to give more, and this is how we can look more at it.
Thank you, Clint. That's a fabulous introduction, but I'm just going to leave you there for a moment because I'm going to bring in Anup now, Anup Sood, who needs no introduction. If you've come across Anup in his volunteer work for COTA or any of a number of his other volunteering roles, he's really one of the people that's contributing to that fabulous, thriving local area of Western Sydney and the community of interest. And Anup has to leave us at 11 to actually go to another webinar where he's a very valued volunteer for his lived experience and professional expertise. So, hi Anup, can you tell us a little bit about your background first?
Good morning to you and everybody else. Like you said, Anup Sood, I have a background from the CALD community, migrant from India, came to Australia in 2010. Initially worked for St. George Bank, etc., in their IT departments, etc. But then finally, from 2019, when I got introduced to COTA, thanks to Serena and John Hughes at the time, I came into volunteering, and this is where, if I have a lived experience story that, in fact, I went into anxiety depression, and volunteering has taken me out of it. And today I am at my peak, contributing back to the community.
That's amazing. So tell us about the range of organisations and issues that you're currently being a volunteer for and on.
See, besides COTA, where I'm a CALD advocacy group member, plus a community speaker for COTA NSW. The meeting that I'm going to go to is for the Aged Care Quality Consumer Reference Group, which comes under the Federal Ministry of Health. So I've been there now, member for second year running, and I'm there on my own credentials. I'm not because of any of the organizations backing me. I'm there because of my own credentials.
And I know that you're involved, for example, in a group called Sweltering Cities in Western Sydney. That's
yes, I'm involved with Sweltering Cities, which is advocating about the heat, etc. I'm involved with Voices for Power, which is again involved with climate change, heat, power, etc., getting into renewables. But besides that, I'm more interested to mention that I'm involved with things like this.
Oh, the Community Visitor Scheme.
Yes, because
Tell
that's
us about
where.
that, Anup.
See, this is a scheme floated by the federal government, federal health, where people who are in sort of solitaire, feeling lonely in the aged care, the families have dumped them there. They have no visitors. Family doesn't visit them. But when they look at others getting visitors and family, they become what you call sad. They start feeling suffocated. This is where the government has started what we call as a buddy scheme through various churches. I'm involved through the Pathways Church here with this particular, and this guy is a dementia. I mean, in fact, he's 13 years my junior.
Right.
So can you imagine? Then I'm also involved with another group called Mentoring Men, where I'm a mentor, mentoring another person who nearly was on the verge of suicide. I mean, so from there, so what I'm mentioning is that from one end where I'm involved with on my professional side background, where I'm the co-chair of the NSW Health on Technology and Innovation Group. On the other hand, I'm working with people who have these people who are involved or who are sad or sick in the aged care, getting no visitors. I'm a buddy there. I'm a
That's it.
mentor.
That's
And then of
wonderful.
course, I'm a member of my Rotary. I'm an incoming president for the next year of my Rotary Club of Pennant Hills, so which is another charity. So charity is one side, giving back on my knowledge profession through the Technology Innovation Group of the Ministry of Health.
So basically, your volunteering is now a new career.
It's a career. So like I'm a tech mate with Digital Foundation. So
Digital Literacy Foundation. Yes.
and then I'm a member of the advisory committee of the Blacktown Council, senior advisory committee of the Blacktown Council.
Right. So when you find time to sleep?
Well, that's a question which my grandson was asking me the other day. You were less busy when you were working in a normal vocation, and now you're more busy. You won't believe. See, like I said, I contribute even from my professional point of view.
That's right.
Or today morning, I went to bed at 2 in the morning because I was working with Project Management Institute, which certifies project managers and professional managers. I was working with them in contributing to the question bank, which the certification exam conducts. So they need a question bank. I'm a part of that process. So one side I contribute from on my experience gained over. I've not been to South America, North Pole, and South Pole.
Oh, wow. You've been everywhere else.
Yes,
So what would you say to people who might be listening and who, are maybe feeling like they have some time and some expertise to give in their life? What would you say to encourage anyone who's with us to
come out,
volunteer?
give back to the community. This is the time to give back to the community. Community has given you so much. I'm telling you my lived experience. For the 3 years from 2016 to 2019, I went to a psychiatrist twice. That was John Hughes who said, write your story, and that turned my life.
Right. You shared
Today,
your own story and that gave you confidence.
That gave me my confidence.
Fantastic.
Today, not only COTA writing about me, there's a senior newspaper which has written an article about me.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
So
Well,
give
thank
back
you,
to the
Anup.
community. Community needs you. The charity today, people need you. We really need. It has become a small world, but you can call it a village now. But other
Exactly.
members of the village need you.
Yeah.
Go give them something.
I'll just let you know that as the people who are joining us today, Janine says, thanks for sharing, and I'm so glad to hear that you are finding joy in the gift of giving. And she also says Mentoring Men is a fabulous organisation. Judith says, I've been volunteering at the Australian Museum as a public guide for nearly 22 years, retiring in 2 weeks.
Wow,
After a
wonderful.
short holiday, I'll be looking for a new opportunity somewhere. Thank you, Judith, for what you've been giving.
Come to COTA NSW.
Yeah, that's right. And Romain says, so pleased to be able to be here. Really interesting topic, reimagining volunteering. For the last 23 odd years of my paid work, I was fortunate to be able to work for pay 3 days a week, and that left me some time for volunteering. So look, thank you, Anoop. I'm gonna move on now to Clint, and I understand that you'll have to leave us shortly. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, so Clint, before we were talking, and I know that you have got a presentation for us, so I'll let you do your presentation now, and I'll come back to you after that.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jackie. All right. So, yeah, as I mentioned before, I'm going to explore the value of volunteering a little bit. And look, on the slides, there's a whole lot of graphs and some information I've pulled out. But what I've decided to do is that's going to be in the background. I'm going to talk a little bit more about what that looks like in a practical sense. I encourage you at the very end, there is a QR code, or just head over to our website and please download the State of Volunteering report. For all the facts and figures, I think it really does highlight the value of volunteering, how important volunteers are. Listening to Anoop just then was fantastic. And we hadn't spoken beforehand, but it's almost like he set my presentation up perfectly for the few of the things I'm going to be talking about. And hearing the comments, or seeing the comments in the chat already, just emphasizes just all the points I'm going to go through and what volunteering actually brings to the community. And we are more connected than ever through technology. But I think I love what Anoop said, we've become more like a village. And I really do think that really helps. Everyone helping one another. And we know we're in an interesting time post-COVID, cost of living crisis. We're in an interesting time at the moment, and being able to help people out and give back, I think, is even more important. And what I'm going to say is volunteering doesn't have to necessarily be a specific task or a specific activity. It could be anything. I often laugh that I volunteer for a radio station. And I think to myself, oh, Clint, you're wasting your time doing a stupid little heavy metal show on community radio. But the reality is, I know I'm giving back to a part of the community that at the moment, since COVID, has actually been really struggling. The art got absolutely annihilated during COVID because of the fact that they weren't able to perform. And so a lot of young bands who want to make a living are not getting recognized. And if that's the way I can give back in the small amount of time I have, that's fantastic. And it taps into a skill and a passion I've got, which means that I'm utilizing my motivations for volunteering, which means it doesn't feel like work at all. It's something that I genuinely look forward to. And I love that Anoop actually mentioned how it helped his mental health, because then you sit there and go, why is that so? And I think it's because when you're tapping into your passions, when it doesn't feel like work, and when you know you're giving back, you get all these fantastic endorphin hits. It's got to do well for your mental health. And look, I'll share, it's very rare I do share this in a public forum, but I'll even say I myself have struggled with anxiety and borderline depression. And I find that when I'm giving back, it helps you to sort of feel good and see things in a different light. And that's actually helped me as well. So it's not something I get too much into, but it is something that I can 100%, all the research is out there, and I'm not going to pretend I'm some kind of scientist or psychologist, but I absolutely believe in it. And I think it just really shows that at our core, humans want to help one another and work together. All right, so I'll go to the next slide, please. And let me give you a bit of a rundown on the Centre for Volunteering. We are the peak body for volunteering in New South Wales. We are celebrating our 50th year, which is phenomenal. Absolutely fantastic to think that we've been in the game for 50 years, providing advocacy, support services, and sector development. And in the 4 years I'm there, I'm really proud to say that we've brought a lot of resources and training and tools to the sector that are helping volunteers and volunteer leaders really get past the challenges that were COVID and the pandemic and the like. The offerings we have available, we have the National School for Volunteer Management, which is our registered training organisation, offering certification for volunteers and volunteer leaders. We have our Volunteer Manager Help Desk, where volunteer leaders and to some extent volunteers can call up and get support from our experienced volunteer coordinators who have been, some of them have got more experience than I'll ever have, I'm afraid to say. We've got our National Knowledge Base, which was an initiative the Centre for Volunteering launched, and it got picked up nationally by all the peak bodies around Australia, where we have resources, videos, podcasts, e-learning, customizable templates, all at the ready. So whether you're a volunteer aspiring to become a volunteer leader, or you're maybe getting to work on a board or a committee, or even just trying to improve your volunteer program, we've got tools and resources that can help you do so. We've got a volunteer referral service, and I saw one of the comments there that after a little bit of a holiday, this person is looking to take on some more volunteering opportunities. The referral service may be there to help match you up to the right opportunity. Workshops and webinars, both the ones we run ourselves and being able to get out there and speak to people like yourself on these kinds of presentations, are always something we are doing. And I'm really happy to say that we're getting out a lot more nowadays into community, but we've also adopted a lot of online approaches, which means that it doesn't matter where you are in New South Wales or around Australia for that matter, or overseas, as we've found. Quite a few people tune into our webinars overseas. I don't know why they'd get up at 2 o'clock in the morning to listen to yours truly, but it's very nice. Come along and be able to access training and information. We've got a fantastic session this afternoon, which is a panel discussion, which is something that the sector's really latching on to and getting to hear from their peers on a range of different issues. We've got our state conference we run every year. We've got it coming up on the 6th of June, which is fantastic. I love seeing the conference come together and getting to rub shoulders with everyone on a fantastic day who, it's both a celebration for volunteers and volunteer leaders. We've got our New South Wales Volunteer of the Year Awards, which run annually, and one of the greatest way to recognise volunteering as far as I'm concerned. And it all culminates after a series of regional ceremonies, all culminates into a fantastic gala event each year, which I liken it to the Academy Awards for volunteering, which is fantastic. We run research and reports, and of course, the State of Volunteering is one of those reports that we've recently released. We've got tools, resources, and support available for free. So generally, most of our tools, resources, and support are available to everyone for free. Share and share alike. And if you can't find something, let the team know and we'll see if we can't get it. And we also offer discounted police checks in partnership with New South Wales Police, which is fantastic as volunteers move into different positions and may need to get those checks. All right, if we can go to the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about the New South Wales State of Volunteering report. And look, this is the second report we've run. We ran one just on the back of COVID, and we wanted to run another report to really see what impacts, what changes have been since the pandemic. And it was based on two surveys, one being a general public survey and one being of New South Wales volunteer managers. And the results then culminated into this fantastic report, which we're going to go through a few of the stats and figures. But at the end of the day, it really highlights the strength of the volunteering sector. So let's take a look at that deeper. If we go to the next slide, you can see here a few statistics. Jackie mentioned a couple of them at the top of the session, but 4.3 million people volunteered in New South Wales in 2023. That is phenomenal. That's massive. And by volunteering, that could be everything from formal volunteering, it could be project-based volunteering, whole range of volunteering opportunities. And as you delve into the data, you can start to find out what that makes it up. But to me, just 4.3 million people offering their time free of charge for the common good is just absolutely phenomenal. And in turn, the value of volunteering to New South Wales, 178 billion. Brilliant. You can see there we've got 893.9 million hours contributed. That's huge. And what's huge about that is when you think about it, that's on the back of the pandemic where we had so many restrictions in place and people have actually had to adjust their lifestyles to suit. We've had the cost of living crisis kick in where, if you've got some free time to help make ends meet, a lot of people are taking on extra hours of work or trying to help our family members with child minding or whatever the case may be. I believe we had someone who's looking after a 4-year-old today. This all takes up extra time that once was maybe put into volunteering. But it's not doom and gloom by any extent because people still want to volunteer. And what we might do is go to the next slide and let's look at volunteer motivations. The core of why people want to volunteer is still very evident today as it was in the previous State of Volunteering report and as we've always kind of known. People want to volunteer to help others, to be active, to use skills and experience for enjoyment and for social community and connection. People want to volunteer. I loved hearing Anoop. It was almost like he was sitting there ticking off all the various motivators. And it's great. It is so true. We want to do good as humans, as part of society. We want to do good and give back to community. And it helps us if we can tap into a few other motivators to be active. It's fantastic, particularly if you're looking to find something to keep the mind and the body going. Volunteering is a fantastic way of doing it. It can be fun and you can meet new people. You've got that social and community connection. But more importantly, I love the idea of using skills. And this can become in a couple of different ways. This can be skills that you've maybe developed over years of working. This could be skills that maybe you're just interested in. I myself, that's one of the biggest motivators for me. I love bringing together a radio show. I love the technology. I'm a tech nerd at heart. I love the tech that's available in a radio station. I love the fact that this all culminates into getting across the airwaves and online. But there's no way I could do that in my 9 to 5. I'd love to say that I would be a Carl Sanderlands or whatever else and earn a heap of money per year talking on radio, but that's just not going to happen. But to be able to do that in community radio and use my passions and my skills and my understanding of technology to help bring that together and to use my passions and the music that I love, it motivates me. And that taps into the enjoyment side of things. That taps into the social and community connection because I'm connecting to a part of the community that may not necessarily get a lot of additional support. The heavy metal community is a little bit niche, if you will. So that's where I've been able to sit there. And the reason why I bring all this up is it's important that when you're thinking about your volunteering, what drives you? Why do you show up to volunteer? And that will help you pick the right volunteering roles that you're going to be passionate about, that you're actually going to want to continue doing. And if you're someone who's a volunteer leader or an aspiring volunteer leader and thinking about making a volunteer program the best it can be, think about the motivators behind volunteers. It's not always about just rolling up and doing good and giving back. Can you tap into someone's motivations? Can you tap into the skills and expertise they bring? Are they interested in doing something short term or long term? Doesn't make them any less of a volunteer if you only see them for a small portion of the year each year. You know that they're continually wanting to give back to your organization. Let's go to the next slide on volunteer participation and drill into that a little bit further. So the survey looked at the various different types of volunteering and the participation in volunteering that is out there. And we can see there's a whole range of different roles, obviously put into high-level categories in that bar chart there. But it's interesting to see that the giving back and the support side is certainly what is heaps prevalent in these results. People want to help, but you'll also notice that they also require certain levels of skills as well. Event support is something that's also become quite prolific in the fact that that can be short-term volunteering to a degree, which then allows people that flexibility of not necessarily having to volunteer week on, week out, but knowing that they're going to be able to volunteer for a particular amount of time. I gave the example before with my own volunteering of volunteering for the basketball team. And the reason why that works so well is even through my busy work schedule, and I've got 2 kids who also keep me on my toes as well. I was able to plan that quite well because I knew how long the season was going to be. They had all the games already listed, so I knew what the calendar was. So I knew when I needed to dedicate time to my volunteering. And I was able to plan for that. But I also knew that it wasn't going to be ongoing for a whole year or longer, where I may just not know what's on the horizon and how I could commit to it. And that's something to think about too. Can you volunteer or offer volunteering that is that flexible, that has that ability to allow someone to plan in advance, know when it's going to start, know when it's going to stop? And whilst there are going to be volunteering opportunities that are going to be very traditional, boots on the ground, if you will, at a set location for a set time ongoing, a lot of volunteering can actually be changed up to really tap into this flexibility. You'll also see in the pie chart there, whilst a lot of volunteering takes place in local community, the second largest volunteering is online or from home. And this has really expanded since COVID as we all got thrusted into the online lifestyle, thanks to lockdowns and whatever else. But I think it's really cool in the fact that it's enabling volunteer programs to sit there and go, okay, well, I need things to get done for my organization and to, enact our mission. But how can I offer that flexibility? Well, by being able to do it from home or remotely, and by being able to do it online, it can fit into people's life. Maybe it's going to be done after hours at 2 o'clock in the morning, as Anoop was saying he was doing. That's crazy. I like sleeping at that time, but my hat goes off to him for that level of volunteering support. Maybe it's going to be done at the beach. The amount of volunteering I've done sitting down at the beach just down from where I live in Tassie has been phenomenal, and no one would be the wiser. Most cases, I'm sitting there with a more powerful machine in the form of my smartphone anyway, and can do a lot of planning, logging into spreadsheets and whatever else, while sitting there enjoying a cup of coffee in the seaside. It's fantastic. And offering that flexibility means that I'm willing to do what needs to be done. I'm willing to put my hand up a little bit more. And that's probably why I got roped into so many things at Edge Radio, which was the community station I was with. All right, let's go to the next slide, please. So to sum it all up, I highly recommend that you take a look at the State of Volunteering report, and if you've never been over to our website, please head over to volunteering.com.au, have a really good look around, check out the knowledge base, which I'm going to give you a screenshot of in a moment, and really embrace and engage with the resources and tools we have available. Sign up for any of our webinars. They're generally all free of charge. Register for them, come along, get involved in the discussions as well. One of the things we're really trying to do in 2024 is to generate conversation, organic learning, if you will. It's one thing to have someone like myself get up and talk about how to do something. It's another when your peers are telling you that, hey, we're all in this together. We're all suffering from the same pain points, and here's how we overcome it, which has been really fantastic. I'll get you to go to the next slide, please. And yeah, do take a look at the National Knowledge Base, which I've alluded to. I'm really proud of this because there is so much on here. We've got a range of articles, e-learning, videos and podcasts, customizable templates, and the research reports are all in a one-stop shop that's easy to find and navigate. We're continually working on this. The best part is it doesn't matter what device you're on, whether you be on a full-blown PC right down to a mobile device, it's all accessible. And it's also been designed in such a way that even if you're like me and have shocking internet connection where you live, it should load pretty well as well. So, yeah, Thank you very much for allowing me to talk to you about the value of volunteering. Hopefully, I've been able to apply a little bit of practical knowledge there as well. I encourage you to jump along to any of our sessions where over the last sort of 12 months and ongoing, I'll actually be talking more about this. And I think, look, when it comes to volunteering, make the journey whatever you want it to be. Once you're in with an organization as well, don't be afraid to put your hand up and say, hey, I've got this skill or this passion. Take a chance on me, because it's going to be twofold. Some people are going to bring gold to the table, and some organizations are going to be absolutely ready to tap into that gold that they didn't know was sitting on their doorstep. So yeah, if I can leave you with one final thought, that's probably it. Thanks.
Wonderful, Clint. Thank you. Thank you so much for that presentation. And I think it's interesting to see the comments that have been coming in, people telling us about how they volunteer, and, you know, keen to get some more information, as you've just covered, on what is available out there online, for example. Julana says she knows about Trove, which is a service from the National Library. I've used that myself for family history and things like that. Vivian says she's been volunteering for about 25 years, for the past 10 years in the health and medical sector as a peer educator and consumer representative advocate. And as we heard from Anoop as well, that kind of experience and volunteer experience is vital for those of us in our aged care, health, all these systems, to understand people's own experience and what they need. She says these volunteer roles contribute to improvements of health literacy and provision of services. She's certainly doing a lot. I've been involved in research programs. I'm actually getting some remuneration. I'm 84 years old. There's no age limit. That's the other point we're trying to make. Judith says, have a look at the Australian Museum. There's a wide range of online volunteering options. Have a look on their website. Lorraine shared her volunteering has been focused on U3A, which ticks off the top of the 5 motivations that Clint has just told us about. So wonderful to connect with people in our community, to share my passion and skill and enjoy their passion. And Julana again's made the point, tap into the abilities of people who can't travel. If you've got mobility or health, or even, you know, there might be concerns about transport costs, being able to get, you know, to volunteering opportunities. So that's great. Thanks, everyone, and thanks for those comments. Now, let's bring in our new CEO here, Gohar Yazdabadi. Firstly, welcome, Gohar. Can you tell us a little bit about you and what you're thinking about as you're listening to this conversation?
Sure. Hi, Jackie. Hi, everyone. How great is this conversation, and how inspiring has it been so far? Like listening to Anoop's story, to what Clint has to say, and also reading through the comments. It's been really inspirational for me to hear everyone's stories about volunteering and community. And I guess that's what we're about at COTA New South Wales as well. We have a really important community in those over the age of 50, and we're really excited to be advocating on their behalf and making sure that their voices are heard.
Fantastic. So tell us a bit about you.
Sure. So being the new CEO of COTA New South Wales, I'm really excited to be here. I've got a background in policy development and advocacy. So I spent 10 years in Canberra working for the federal government, mainly in the social policy space. And I worked for organisations like the Attorney General's Department and the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet. From there, I came back to Sydney, where I worked in the corporate area before going back to the New South Wales government. And now I'm fortunate enough to find myself leading COTA New South Wales work in making sure that the voices of those over 50 are heard. I'm also a mum. I've got 2 daughters, Sophia and Hannah, and I've recently moved houses to be closer to my parents, who are both 78 and increasingly navigating the healthcare system. But as we've mentioned before, they're all also volunteers in that they help a lot with their grandkids as well. And I guess lastly, I'm a volunteer as well. So for 5 years, I was a volunteer chair for the Liverpool Women's Resource Centre. But most recently, I've been volunteering my time alongside some medical practitioners and some technologists to help develop a phone app which reduces the time from when someone suffers from a stroke to when they receive treatment for that. But after hearing everyone's stories, I'm really inspired to think about how I can be doing some more volunteering.
That's right. You have to pace yourself at different stages of your life, don't you? You've got the children and the mum and the work and the volunteering. And yeah, I should also say that, yeah, I enjoy volunteering in my own life as well, working part-time and making time to engage with my community. I think it does bring you so much closer to why you live somewhere and why you want to feel a part of something. So there's a lot of work for us to do at COTA, as you've said, Gohart. How do we use our volunteers and what are we looking forward to get from them and their wonderful experiences?
Absolutely. So for us, volunteers really touch on every aspect of our work. We have a volunteer board. They commit their time and their expertise in providing direction and ensuring good governance at COTA New South Wales. And then we have what I would call more structured programs of work and then more ad hoc work. So some of our structured programs are, for example, volunteers like Anoop who work in our community speakers program, while others are involved in projects like our policy advisory group. And then we've got some more ad hoc programs that we run or opportunities that we have. So there might be a specific event and we need help in spreading the word about COTA New South Wales and how we advocate for those over the age of 50. So just as Clint said, we're really trying to reimagine the way that that volunteering works and moving away from something that might be very structured and has very prescriptive needs for what you can do, to also thinking about how we can utilize the skills of our important supporters in having more ad hoc kind of opportunities for them as well.
Yes, fantastic. So Clint's told us what an ideal volunteer looks like, and I think we've all got that picture in our head. But for an organisation like COTA, just remind us, what are we looking for?
Absolutely. So some really great points from Clint before, and I'd echo them again. And I think we can really see it echoing in also the work that Anoop has done and the sentiments has. And I think it's really about thinking about two different sides of the coin. So what you have and what you have to give to an organisation and what your passions are and how you can marry that up to a cause that's important to you. And really thinking about what you want to get out of the experience as well. It might be that you want to feel closer to your community. It might be that you have expertise and you get some great satisfaction to being part of projects and watching those projects grow. I think it's really important to think about what you can get out of it and then think about the organisations or the work that you could possibly do that will be fulfilling for you, so that there's longevity for you in that space as well.
Fantastic. So Clint, just back to you for a minute. There's a new national strategy for volunteering, another big document that we won't go into too much, but it's a 10-year blueprint, and there's some key things in the vision for that I thought I'd just check in with you about. So we see a future where more people volunteer more often, where we reshape the public perception of volunteering, and that we see inclusive and diverse volunteering. So all those are incredibly important into our future, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what it does is by sitting there saying, okay, we see more people volunteering. Well, I think what that's going to come down to, as I've alluded to, is volunteer programs actually going, well, let's change the way we think about volunteering. Let's make it more flexible. Let's make it more inclusive. Now, when I say more inclusive, actually sit there and be willing to tap into, make a few reasonable adjustments to work with a wider range of people from all walks of life, whether it be, people from other cultures and backgrounds and taking the time to understand the cultural nuances, whether it be those who maybe are living with disability. So being able to, whether it be physical or mental disability, it's not always that hard to incorporate them into your programs. It can be just as simple as having a conversation and asking the volunteer, what support, if any, do you need, and not being afraid to have that conversation. And it could also be for those who maybe have been out of the workforce for some time due to things like mental health issues. Being able to sit there and embrace those people, their skills and whatnot, to get more out of your volunteer program and to really help build the network of volunteers. It's going to create a greater pool of volunteers to tap into, more fantastic skills and knowledge coming into your volunteer programs that you may not have necessarily had, or heaven forbid, known that you needed. And it's going to change the perception of volunteering. I think volunteering already has a reasonably positive idea behind it, but I think the idea that volunteering is a fantastic way to help people move to the next stage of their life, whatever that next stage looks like. And that could be anything to anyone. Let volunteering be that carriage.
Yeah, fantastic. And I mean, another term that I've come across in just researching this work and in talking to you as well is, you know, the new trends in volunteering, as we've talked about, but, you know, micro volunteering. It might
Yes,
just be a
yes.
little bit of time here and there, but it's incredibly value. And as Juliana's just said to us, researching the value of volunteering shows up how much the economy depends on us.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I think micro volunteering is fantastic because it takes away the idea that volunteering or volunteers are task doers. Volunteers, you can be a lifelong volunteer to an organization and maybe only get involved every so often. But what is that volunteer doing behind the scenes? Well, they're an advocate for your organization. They're a vocal supporter. And we live in a world nowadays where if you love or hate something, it takes about 2 seconds on Facebook to put that post up there. And so you could have someone who volunteers with you maybe once a year for a major event, but they are continually sharing your posts, promoting your organization, building awareness, and inadvertently, they could even be an unofficial recruiter for your volunteering program because they are spruiking how good you are and what you're doing into community. So it really is about changing that mindset about what your volunteer is beyond just doing individual tasks. And micro volunteering is going to help with that because it's going to give people more flexibility and fit it into the small amount of time a lot of us have nowadays.
Sue's made the point, you know, it is hard to find volunteer jobs for those of us with disabilities who find it hard to travel, but they are out there. She's told us about a couple of things. I volunteer as a practice patient in training physio and med students, which can be done from home. What a great thing to be doing for those students.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things we're trying to do at the Centre for Volunteering is as we speak to organisations, really get them to promote that they are inclusive in that way and that they can help you if you are living with a disability, particularly physical disability, and looking at opportunities for them. I think one of the things a lot of volunteer programs could learn to do better is to promote all the benefits, not just this will be great for community, but one of the benefits could be, you can do this from home, you can do this online, which suddenly will open them up to a whole range of new volunteers with skill sets that they want to tap into, but they may not be able to get to a set location.
Yeah, fantastic. So, Clint has mentioned social media accounts. If you do use social media, do make sure you're following the Centre for Volunteering and, of course, us at COTA New South Wales. We love to see you interacting with our posts and our comments. And it's a way for us to tell you about some of the events and policy and advocacy issues that we're getting involved with as well. So basically, all the information we're talking about today will be up online when we put the webinar up online, and links as well. So please do go there and have a look. But we're reimagining the future of COTA New South Wales as well, aren't we, Gohar? So have you got some final comments for our audience?
Absolutely. So, Jackie, just as you said, volunteering can be as big or as small as you want to make it. So, for COTA New South Wales, if you want to do something small, follow those socials, as Jackie said. Next time you get a webinar invitation, forward it on to 5 people that you think might enjoy the topic that we're talking about. Next time you get one of our newsletters, forward it on to 5 of your friends that you think might take on might be interested in learning more about COTA and what we do. And as always, we're happy to help and reach out at any time.
Yeah, fantastic. We really are. And look, thank you. We've got another comment from Vivian. Many local health districts may be seeking people with medical health lived experience. They're developing consumer registers so they can be involved in research meetings. Often that stuff is on Zoom. We should probably point out too that places like the Centre for Volunteering and organisations generally, there's also help out there to help you with the technology. You know, as we all take on and learn more about technology in our daily lives, you don't need to feel like you're potentially being left behind, I think. It's fine to put your hand up and say, look, I'm sure I can work this out. But, you know, I think making sure lived experience is reflected is a really valuable volunteering experience in our community now. We understand that policies and services really work better if we understand what the people that they're for really need. So that's part of the work that we're doing here today. So just keeping an eye on my clock over here, it's probably time for us to wrap up because I know Clint has another engagement, very busy in National Volunteer Week. I hope if you are a volunteer, you've managed to connect with your community during this week. And there's lots of further information at Volunteering Australia. We'll also put that link up on the webinar website page when we create that one as well. So thanks to our guests for taking part today. Thank you for joining us. If we didn't get to your question or your comment, feel free to contact us via our phone or email support service. All that details on our website, which is cotanewsouthwales.com.au. In coming days, this webinar will be available. As I've said, we'll have information on the speakers and the programs. I hope you can join us again in June. We'll be discussing how to keep safe from scams. So I think that's a pretty big topic at the moment. I know people are talking about that in my daily life. So please do keep an eye out for our next webinar event. And we really do love having these conversations with you. Keep the questions and the comments and the suggestions coming. So that's it for today, everyone. Bye for now. Thank you, Clint. And thank you, Goha. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.